Show of unity outside St. Sabina Church on the south side, where just 2 days ago a gunman killed a woman as she sat in a car.
Mayor Johnson appeared with the police department. Asal Razai has more on the victim and 2 separate rewards now being offered.
Look, he hit that. Oh, there's a baby in the car.
Remember Gabryel Ayres, the 26-year-old mother who was gunned down in broad daylight with her 14-month-old baby in the back seat? Well, we've got major updates on this case, and I need to warn you, what we found changes everything. A Facebook post has surfaced from November 21st, 2025, posted by Gabryel herself. And when you read what she wrote, you're going to understand why this wasn't just a random act of violence. This was revenge, and it had been coming for months. Before we dive into this, if you want to stay updated on cases like this where the truth is more complicated than the headlines, hit that like button right now. Drop a comment telling me what you think about what I'm about to show you. Share this video, because the full story needs to be told. And subscribe to Mysterious Crime with that bell icon on so you never miss an update. Now let's talk about what really happened. Since we last covered this case, the community has been rallying. On Friday, February 7th, just 3 days after Gabryel was killed, hundreds of people gathered at the corner of 79th and May Streets in Auburn Gresham, right where she took her last breath. This wasn't just a candlelight vigil. This was a community in pain, demanding answers, demanding justice, demanding change. Chicago police officers from the Gresham district held their actual roll call at that intersection. Think about that. Instead of meeting at the station like they do every day, they gathered at the murder scene as a promise to the community that they're going to find whoever did this. Mayor Brandon Johnson showed up, and his words hit different when you understand the full context. He said this tragedy continues to tear at the thread of the soul of Chicago, and he's right.
This tragedy continues to tear at the thread of the soul of Chicago. There's tragedies like this that remind us of how much more work that we have to do.
He talked about how it's not enough to just eliminate violence. We have to replace it with good funded schools and good paying jobs and access to mental health care. But here's the thing, and I want you to really think about this. How do you stop violence when the violence is personal? When it's not about lack of opportunity, but about revenge? We're going to get to that. Father Michael Klled, the priest who's been fighting gun violence in Auburn Gresham for decades, he stepped up in a major way. He put up his own $10,000 reward on top of the $10,000 that Crime Stoppers already offered. So now we're talking about $20,000 total for information leading to an arrest. And Father Klled didn't just offer money. He got up in front of that crowd and said something that gave me chills. He said, "Don't be silent. Don't sit back. Because if you do, then you are a co-conspirator to everything that they do." He told people to think of that baby's face. Think of that mother laying in the car dead. And he prayed that whoever knows something can't sleep until they come forward.
When is this going to stop? When is it going to get safe again? Think of her. Think of that baby's face. Think of that mother laying in that car dead. And I pray you don't sleep until you talk and tell what you know.
Illinois State Senator Willie Preston called the shooters monsters and cowards. He promised they would be hunted down. Pamela Bosley, who co-founded Purpose Over Pain after losing her own son to gun violence, stood there and told the crowd that if we don't do something about this, we're going to be standing at another vigil and another and another. And she's right. But what nobody knew at that vigil, what the community didn't know, what maybe even Gabryel's own family didn't fully understand, was what led to her death. Let me tell you about the Facebook post. On November 21st, 2025, Gabryel posted on her page, and I'm going to read this exactly as she wrote it. Now, let me pose her dead ass brother in casket on my page. And she added 2 laughing emojis. Crying laughing emojis. She wasn't sad. She wasn't remorseful. She was mocking someone. She was threatening to post a photo of someone's dead brother in a casket and laughing about it. Now, if you're not familiar with street culture, let me explain why this is one of the worst things you can possibly do. Posting someone's dead relative, especially in their casket, is considered the ultimate disrespect. It's not just trash talk, it's a declaration of war. But it gets worse. A woman named Diamond Howard commented on that post, and her comment is bone-chilling when you know what happens next. Diamond wrote, "I don't give a F. Posted Rico and them going handle you. Wasn't your people getting dragged out of car going on a mission? Let me break that down for you. Rico and them means Rico and them, as in Rico and his crew." Diamond was saying that Rico and his people were going to handle Gabryel, and then she mentioned people getting dragged out of car. Does that sound familiar? Because that's almost exactly what happened to Gabryel on February 4th. A red Alfa Romeo followed her car. The men got out, and they opened fire, essentially dragging her into a deadly confrontation she couldn't escape. Gabryel responded to Diamond's comment with, "Your brother got left on a hit," and added a laughing emoji. She was mocking someone's dead brother, saying he got left behind or killed during a hit, a gang-related shooting. So now we got Gabryel taunting people about their dead family members, someone threatening that Rico and his crew are going to handle her, and a reference to people getting dragged out of a car. This was posted on November 21st, 2025. Gabryel was killed on February 4th, 2026, 2.5 months later. Now here's what we know about what happened in those 2.5 months. Gabryel continued living her life. She was a hairstylist, building her career, taking care of her 14-month-old baby girl. Her boyfriend, we now know his name is Devin Draper. He's 27 years old, and according to reports, he had posted his location on social media just before the shooting. Some people are saying the baby was Gabryel's daughter. Others are saying the baby was Devin's daughter from another relationship. Either way, Gabryel was helping to raise this child. She was in that car on February 4th because she was with her partner and this baby, just running errands on a Tuesday afternoon. But someone hadn't forgotten about that Facebook post. Someone hadn't forgotten about the disrespect, the taunting, the laughing emojis. And on that Tuesday, they decided it was time to make good on Diamond Howard's promise. Rico and them were going to handle it. The red Alfa Romeo that had been following Gabryel and Devin's white Chevrolet sedan, that wasn't random. Those 4 men in masks with automatic weapons, that wasn't a case of wrong place, wrong time. This was calculated. This was planned. This was personal. When those 4 shooters opened fire with 30 to 50 rounds, when they initially ran away and then came back to fire even more shots into the car to make absolutely sure they weren't just trying to kill someone, they were sending a message. You disrespect our dead, we'll make you dead. And they didn't care that there was a 14-month-old baby in the back seat. They didn't care that it was broad daylight. They didn't care that they were 1 block away from St. Sabina Church, where Father Pfleger has been preaching peace for decades. They didn't care about any of that because in their minds, Gabryel had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. The red Alfa Romeo was later found torched and abandoned. The shooters knew exactly what they were doing. Burn the evidence. Destroy any DNA, any fingerprints, any forensic evidence that could link them to the crime. As of right now, 10 days after Gabryel was killed, not a single arrest has been made. Those 4 men are still out there. They're still walking around. They're still breathing while Gabryel is in a casket, the same way she threatened to post someone else's brother in a casket. And this is where my heart breaks for multiple reasons. First, for that 14-month-old baby who's going to grow up without her mother or without the woman who was helping to raise her. That child is going to see these videos one day, read these articles, learn about the Facebook post, learn about the shooting, and have to process all of that trauma. Second, for Gabryel's family, who showed up at that vigil probably not knowing the full extent of what their daughter, their sister, their loved one had been involved in. Kirk Bell, her godfather, spoke to the media asking what's the purpose of shooting at a car when you know there's a child in it. He's right to ask that question. There's no excuse for what those shooters did. But now we have to ask another question. What was the purpose of posting about putting someone's dead brother in a casket when you know you have a baby to take care of? Tim Allison, the executive director of St. Sabina Social Service Center Food Pantry, he was in a meeting when he heard the gunfire. He thought it was a truck at first, but the sound kept going and echoing. He ran to the front and saw people shooting. The pantry had to close the next day because staff and volunteers were too traumatized. When they reopened, Tim lit a candle, held a moment of silence, led breathing exercises. Some staff members had to step away because it triggered their own experiences with gun violence. They got emotional. And these are people who work a food pantry, just trying to help their community. And now they're traumatized because they witness a murder. Mayor Johnson said something at that vigil that keeps replaying in my mind. He said justice must include accountability and long-term solutions, and that we have to make sure we don't create other individuals that believe the only way to survive in the city is through violence and crime. But how do we do that when the violence isn't about survival? It's about respect and disrespect. It's about someone saying something on Facebook and someone else deciding that's worth taking a life over. How do you legislate against that? How do you create a jobs program that stops that? How do you fund a school that prevents that? The community activist Pamela Bosley, who lost her own child to gun violence, she stood at that vigil and said, "We need justice for our children. These are our children's lives being shot and killed." And she's absolutely right. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Both sides of this equation involve somebody's children. Gabryel was somebody's child. The person whose brother she was mocking in that Facebook post, that was somebody's child too. The 4 shooters who killed her, they're somebody's children. The cycle just keeps going round and round, and nobody wins. Everybody loses. Senator Willie Preston called the shooters cowards, and he's not wrong. It takes 4 men with automatic weapons to kill 1 woman sitting in a car. That's cowardice. But we also have a talk about the cowardice of hiding behind a keyboard and mocking dead people. Knowing that in the streets, that kind of disrespect has consequences. Gabryel knew, or she should have known, that posting what she posted could lead to retaliation. And if she didn't know, then someone around her should have told her. Someone should have said, "Hey, you've got a baby now. You need to stay out of this. You need to delete that post. You need to apologize. You need to do something to de-escalate before this gets out of hand." Father Fleger's words at the vigil hit different now that we know about the Facebook post. He said, "If you know somebody and you know who did it, I pray you don't sleep. You can't close your eyes. You can't get rest until you come forward." And I agree. Whoever knows who those 4 shooters are needs to come forward. But I also think we need to have a broader conversation about the people who knew what Gabryel posted, who saw that Facebook exchange with Diamond Howard talking about Rico and them coming to handle her, and nobody did anything to protect her. Nobody convinced her to delete it. Nobody convinced her to make peace. Nobody intervened. The vigil drew hundreds of people, all standing at that corner where 50-plus shell casings were found, where Gabryel's blood stained the pavement, where that 14-month-old baby sat in the back seat, cried with a lollipop in her hand, while her world fell apart around her. And I have to wonder, how many people in that crowd knew about the Facebook post? How many people knew about the beef, knew about the threats, knew that something like this was coming? And if they knew, why didn't they do more to stop it? There's something deeply broken in a culture where a 26-year-old woman feels comfortable posting about putting someone's dead brother in a casket with laughing emojis. There's something deeply broken in a culture where 4 men feel justified in opening fire on a car with a baby inside because of social media disrespect. There's something broken in all of us if we can look at the situation and not see that everybody involved made choices that led to this tragedy, and everybody involved had opportunities to make different choices. Social media has become a weapon. It's not just a place to share photos of your brunch or post about your vacation. It's a place where feuds are started, where threats are made, where disrespect is amplified, and where people forget that their words have real-world consequences. Gabryel posted that message in November, probably thinking it was just talk, just online drama. 2.5 months later, she paid for those words with her life. And Devin Draper, the boyfriend who was driving that car, he survived with 2 gunshot wounds. He's recovering physically, but how do you recover mentally from watching the mother of your child, or the woman helping you raise your child, get shot to death next to you? How do you live with the knowledge that you posted your location on social media and potentially led these shooters right to you? How do you face that baby girl and explain to her one day what happened and why? The $20,000 reward is still out there. Chicago police are still investigating. They're reviewing surveillance footage, analyzing those 50-plus shell casings, following up on tips. But in communities that have been traumatized by violence for generations, people are scared to talk. They're scared of retaliation, scared they'll be next. And that fear is exactly what allows these cycles to continue. The shooters stay free. They do it again, and more mothers end up dead. More babies end up traumatized. More families end up at vigils crying and asking why. So here's what I need you to think about. At what point does personal responsibility enter this equation? Yes, we need better gun laws. Yes, we need more resources in underserved communities. Yes, we need police accountability and criminal justice reform. But we also need people to take responsibility for their own actions and their own words. We need people to understand that posting about dead bodies and caskets isn't just edgy internet behavior. It's a threat that can get you killed. We need people to understand that revenge doesn't heal anything. It just creates more bodies, more grief, more trauma. Gabryel Ayres was 26 years old. She was a hairstylist. She was loved by her family and friends. She had a whole life ahead of her. And now she's gone because of a Facebook post and the cycle of violence that social media can ignite. Those 4 shooters took her life. Absolutely. They're responsible for pulling those triggers. But Gabryel also made a choice when she posted that message. Devin Draper made a choice when he posted his location. Diamond Howard made a choice when she threatened that Rico and them were coming. Rico and whoever else was involved made a choice when they decided to hunt down a car with a baby inside. If you have any information about this case, if you know who those 4 shooters are, if you know anything about that red Alfa Romeo before it was torched, please contact Chicago Police at 312-747-8273 or submit an anonymous tip at tip.com. You can also call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-535-7867. $20,000 is waiting for information that leads to an arrest, and more importantly, a family is waiting for justice. Hit that like button. Share this video because this full story needs to be heard. Drop a comment with your thoughts on social media beef turning deadly, and subscribe to Mistora Crime so you stay updated when arrests are finally made in this case. Gabryel deserved better. That baby deserved better. And this community deserves better than watching their neighbors kill each other over Facebook posts.